What is up, everybody? My name is Nate, and I am so excited to welcome you all back to another episode of the Chokehold Hour. Now, I know we usually are a podcast that stays on the topic of mixed martial arts, but remember, this podcast is for combat sports in general, and I just don't think we can ignore what's going on in boxing this weekend. The biggest pay-per-view in recent memory of boxing. Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis. Guys, I really think you would all love to hear about this fight, and I'd love to talk about it, so we are going to touch on this fight a little in this episode. Now, do not worry, we will make our way back to MMA and the UFC in discussing the upcoming fight night this weekend, which takes place between Curtis Razor Blaydes and Sergei Pavlovich. So yeah, that's an awesome heavyweight banger. So we're going to get to that after we discuss Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. So guys, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, the implications are so high. I mean, this fight is everything for boxing. There are no two bigger stars in the sport right now, I don't think, than Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. I think these are the two guys that bring the most eyes to the sport of boxing right now, other than maybe Canelo Saul Alvarez, who, obviously his reputation precedes him. Canelo is Canelo. He is one of the GOATs. But guys, Tank versus Ryan, this is going to do a lot of buys. This is going to be huge for the sport of boxing. This fight is make or break for the sport of boxing. I truly think if this is a barn burner, if this is an entertaining fight that goes 8+ rounds, and these guys are going back and forth, going to war, this fight is really going to elevate boxing to the next level. I mean, Boxing is a large sport, but recently mixed martial arts and UFC, I feel like, has been taking over and becoming a little more mainstream in media. People are kind of drifting towards MMA because it's a more entertaining sport. More can happen. But if this fight really delivers, I think there's going to be enough eyes on this fight that it really could do wonders for the sport of boxing. Now, for the actual fight, who's going to win? That is a really difficult question because these guys have fought very different opponents. They've had very different paths in their careers to this point, but they've both looked absolutely astonishing in all of their performance. They've both looked pretty much impeccable. I mean, you have a guy in Tank Davis who in his last fight, Hector Luis Garcia, said he couldn't see because Tank hit so hard. Tank has that X factor. He has that power. When he hits you, it's lights out. There's not much you can do about it. Tank's a very good power puncher, and I also think he doesn't get enough credit for his precision, his timing, and his technical ability. Tank Davis isn't just a power puncher, and he's shown that in his fights, especially against Hector Luis Garcia and Rolly, when he waited for Rolly to overcommit and countered with a half-thrown left hook that still put Rolly to sleep. Tank is very technical. He will wait for you to overcommit. He waits for you and lets you come at him. He gets out of range, gets out of the way with nice head movement, and lands beautiful, perfectly placed counters that render you unconscious. So I think Tank Davis is a very powerful puncher, as we all know, but he also deserves some more credit for his technical ability. But again, back to his last opponents, Hector Luis Garcia said he could not see because Tank Davis hit so hard. Rolly Romero is he's a talented boxer, guys. He was fighting well against Tank Davis, but he made one singular mistake. One mistake. Guys, that's all it takes against a guy like Tank who has that X factor, that one-hitter quitter power, and boom, Rolly was out cold. That fight was over right when that left hook landed. And now Tank didn't even throw that left hook at full capacity. That was nowhere near full power. He just let Rolly come right into it. Rolly was coming forward, and that momentum going right into that little check hook right on Rolly's chin. Boop. Good night, Rolly. That was it. Great performance from Gervonta Davis. And now, if we go back to his fight before that against Isaac Cruz, where he won by unanimous decision, this is probably the fight Tank looked the least dominant in. But Isaac Cruz is a guy who could give Tank problems because they're of similar sizes. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is a dog in there, as his nickname suggests. He's the Pitbull, you know? He keeps coming forward. He is very defensively sound. He keeps his hands up. He catches your shots on his with his gloves. He's not Isaac Cruz is a similar fighter to Tank Davis, and I think that's why Tank had problems with him. They're both dogs who are power punchers who rely on that one-hitter quitter to win their fights. Ryan Garcia, he has that power, but he is short. Ryan Garcia is tall, he's lanky, he's quick. He's not a power punching pit bull dog in the pocket type of fighter like Isaac Cruz is. So those are two very different fighters. Now, looking at a guy like Ryan Garcia, guys, he is just, he's really incredible because Ryan, his punches are just they're lightning quick. They're just like that. I mean, there's nothing, you don't see them in live time. When I'm watching Ryan Garcia on TV, his knockout over, I think it was Javier Fortuña, that was incredible. That 1-2-3 he throws, his left hook is really, it's the left hook of a ghost. You don't see it. It's in and out, just like that, and his opponent is on the floor. I really, like, when Ryan Garcia lands that left hook, especially when he landed it against Fortuña, I actually had to watch that knockout back in slow motion because I did not catch the hook in real time. Garcia, you don't see him throw that hook. His left hand is sitting at his chin. It's sitting there, and he just pivots his body, and his hook comes so quickly, so fast. It just touches the chin, and it's out. It's on. I really think Ryan Garcia's left hook is the fastest punch in boxing, and it is so precise when it lands. The fight is over. Ryan Garcia has put countless amount of guys out with that left hook. He has 19 knockouts in his 23-0 undefeated professional career. Ryan Garcia is a very, very good fighter, and he is very fast. And I think he has the ability to give Tank some problems. I think Ryan is naturally bigger than Tank. He's taller than Tank. He has the physical tools to defeat a guy like Gervonta. If Ryan lets Tank come first, Ryan uses his range, his reach, and his jab effectively, I think he's going to be able to keep Tank at bay, keep the power shots away from him, and eventually he'll be able to crack Tank with a nice right cross off the jab, or maybe a left hook off of the 1-2. He'll be able to crack him eventually and maybe get a ladder round TKO or a decision victory. I think that is a possible path for Ryan Garcia. Now, I think the problem for Ryan Garcia lies in the fact that Tank Davis is a dog. Tank Davis is really about that life, guys. Ryan is a boxer. Tank is a fighter, if that makes any sense. Tank is very technical. I said this before. He is 100% a technical boxer, but Tank Davis, he carries himself with this demeanor. He holds his shoulders high, but his head is always a little looking down. He's eyes on the prize. He's very focused. Tank Davis is very disciplined, and he is a fighter, guys. He's a dog. He will bite down on the mouthpiece and go to war. Now, Ryan Garcia is definitely a boxer. He's shown us toughness. He got up from a huge left hook against Luke Campbell. Ryan Garcia, he's tough. But he's a boxer. He relies heavily on his skill. And while Tank Davis also relies heavily on his skill, he also relies heavily on his natural, God-given ability to knock people out cold. And that is always a possibility, no matter what point or who is winning the fight when Tank Davis is in the ring. So, guys, I could see this fight going one of two ways. Ryan Garcia uses his jab, uses his reach well, keeps Tank Davis and his power shots at bay, keeps him out of range, lets Tank Davis come first, lands nice counters, and he will eventually crack Tank later in the fight for a ladder round TKO or decision victory. Or Tank Davis is going to be the better fighter. Ryan is going to fight not smart. He's going to come forward. He's going to try with too much output. He's going to try to outland Tank. Tank is going to get out of the way and land a nicely placed left hook or left overhand to put Ryan Garcia to sleep. Now, guys, remember, Ryan Garcia got hit with that left hand against Luke Campbell. That is what scares me. Ryan Garcia throws that left hand, and he likes to leave his hands down with his face is out in the air like this. His chin is open to be hit. Sometimes Ryan doesn't bring that chin back. And if he does that against Tank, it's night-night Ryan Garcia. So, either Tank Davis by 6th round TKO or Ryan Garcia by 10th round TKO or decision victory. Those are the three ways that this fight is going to go. I promise you guys, if you want to win some money, Tank Davis, 6th round TKO, Ryan Garcia, 10th round stoppage, or decision victory. Those are your three best paths to winning money. Now, my pick, my favorite pick in this fight is honestly, I'm going to have to take Ryan Garcia by 10th round TKO, lock it in. That is my pick, guys. I'm so excited to watch this boxing fight. I'm not usually this excited for boxing, to be honest with you. I love boxing, don't get me wrong. I am a combat sports fan through and through, but lately boxing has not been delivering with its fights, and I feel like it's finally given us that fight we all wanted. I've been wanting to see Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia since they've been beefing on social media. I think that goes back to as far as last year. I've wanted to see this fight for so long, and finally, Boxing delivers with the biggest pay-per-view in recent boxing memory. So guys, I am really excited for this fight. I have Ryan Garcia by 10th round stoppage. Lock it in. There we go. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed me doing something a little different and talking about boxing. And if you didn't, that's okay. You know, boxing isn't for everybody. MMA isn't for everybody. Everybody has their niches and their interests, guys. But if you didn't enjoy that last segment, I hope you enjoy this next one because we are getting back to MMA. Now, I hope you enjoyed that last segment, but if you didn't, we're getting back to MMA and we're going to be discussing the upcoming fight night. Like I said, this weekend, the heavyweight barn burner in Curtis Razor Blaydes versus Sergei Pavlovich. Now, guys, we are going to be starting with the third fight on this main card, I believe it is. Yes, it is the third fight on this main card, and we're going to be reviewing Bobby Green versus Jared Gordon, then the co-main and Brad Tavares versus Bruno Silva, and then we're going to get to the main event. So guys, starting with Bobby Green versus Jared Gordon, this is an interesting fight. Now, Jared Flash Gordon, right now he has a little more relevancy than he did coming into, or just at any point in his career, because he's coming off of a fight against Paddy the Baddy where everybody kind of thought he won. A lot of people were saying that was a robbery type of decision. Now, I'm not here to comment on the decision, but I am here to say that Jared Gordon, not a lot of people knew who he was before that fight. And then he went in there and he went to war with Paddy. He had a great performance, exposed the prospect for the skill level that he's at, and people kind of, they like Jared for that, and they feel for him knowing that he got robbed of that decision victory. So Jared right now, there's a lot of eyes on Jared. He brings a lot more views to the sport than he normally would, so I think that's really good for this card. But he might be a little overmatched here against a guy like Bobby Green. Now, I could be wrong. You know, Jared Gordon, he's short and stout like Drew Dober is, and he has that power. And look, Drew Dober put Bobby Green to sleep. But Bobby Green was piecing Drew Dober up before he got put to sleep. Bobby Green is a very good boxer. He's very defensively sound. We saw that against Rafael Fiziev. He uses his head movement and that Philly shell stance very effectively to evade punches, get out of the range and the way of punches, and land nicely placed counter shots of his own. Bobby Green is a very good counter puncher. He is a very solid boxer who knows the fundamentals of boxing, and he's one of the only so heavy boxing specialists that can find success in the UFC. Now, obviously, against guys like Islam, that doesn't fly, and we saw that when Islam submitted Bobby Green in the first round. But against a guy like Jared Gordon, he's a good striker. He's a pretty good striker. We saw he landed in a couple of nice overhand rights against Paddy, but I don't think he has the quickness that Bobby Green has, but I also think Jared Gordon is pretty stout. He's strong, he's tough, he has a good chin, and he's not a bad fighter. So guys, because of Bobby Green's technical ability, his boxing fundamentals, his defensively sound boxing ability, his Philly shell stance, and his prowess in avoiding punches and landing counter punches of his own, I have Bobby Green by a dominant 3-round decision. We might see Jared Gordon have Bobby in trouble at one point in the fight. He might land 1 or 2 nice shots. He'll have his moments, but Bobby Green is going to take this one by UD. Lock it in. Okay, guys, so we are going to be moving on to the co-main event. This one is super interesting, guys, because we have Brad Tavares versus Bruno Silva. Now, I'm not sure if Brad Tavares is a little bit of a bigger name, but I'm not sure if you all know who Bruno Silva is. And Bruno Silva is actually the only man in MMA to go the distance with Alex Poitin Pereira. Now, Bruno Silva is a very talented striker, guys. Okay, he looked a little unmotivated in his last fight. GM3, Gerald Merchart, beat him in the third round by submission after knocking him down. But guys, remember, Bruno Silva is the only man to go the distance with Alex Poitin Pereira, one of the scariest strikers, if not the scariest striker in the UFC right now. So Bruno Silva is a good mixed martial artist. He's very aware when he's in the cage. He's a smart fighter. But that being said, he looked very unmotivated, and he looked like a shell of his former self in his previous fight against GM3, where GM3 kind of handled him in that third round pretty easily. So Bruno Silva's no walk in the park, because if Alex Pereira cannot finish him, then obviously he is not easily finishable. Bruno Silva is tough. He's a good striker. But Brad Tavares is a seasoned veteran. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He has a lot of experience, and we've never really seen him slow down. You know what you're getting with Brad Tavares. You know, he's the good old veteran. He's kind of a gatekeeper to the rankings. Brad Tavares is... He he has that longevity in him. He's not really at a point where he's showing wear and tear yet. Maybe he's not in his athletic prime, but he definitely still has a chin on him, whereas Bruno Silva, he caught one left hand from GM3, who is a grappling specialist, and he went down. I think Bruno Silva, he might have some weight cutting issues, he has some cardio issues, and I think he has some mentality issues, because I just don't see how you could go the distance with Alex Pereira and then get dropped by GM3 in the third round. It doesn't really make sense to me, so I think there's something going on with Bruno Silva, and I think Brad Tavares is going to crack him and beat him by second round TKO, maybe third round TKO, but I'm going second round TKO. Lock it in. That is my pick. Now on to this main event, a heavyweight barn burner, a clash between Curtis Razor Blaydes, hence the nickname. His elbows are absolutely deadly. He will slice your face open, versus Sergei Pavlovich, the absolute wrecking ball who just knocks out anybody in his way. Now, who is going to win this fight, guys? Honestly, I'm not sure. This fight is incredible. I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, because you have a guy like Curtis Razor Blaydes enters this fight as the betting favorite. Now, can I explain to you why he enters this fight as the betting favorite? Curtis Razor Blaydes is a veteran. He's coming off some pretty strong wins. Curtis Razor Blaydes, he's on a good streak right now. He's coming off of a win against Tom Aspinall, who people were saying was the next big thing in heavyweight. People were saying he is the next heavyweight champ. No, he lost to Curtis Razor Blaydes. Now, I know it was by injury, but a win is a win nonetheless. So that was a huge win from Curtis Razor Blaydes. Now, before that, he looked really good against Chris Daukaus, knocked him out in the first round with a nice short right hand, and his power was there. He showed he is not just a wrestler, he has power, he is a heavyweight, he can knock anyone out just as any heavyweight can knock any heavyweight out at any point. That's why I love heavyweight matchups, but Curtis Razor Blaydes showed that power in knocking out Chris Daukaus, and he showed his ability to wrestle in the previous fight before that, defeating Jairzinho Rozenstruik by 3-round unanimous decision. He wrestled him to that win. So yeah, Curtis Razor Blaydes is one of the most talented wrestlers in UFC heavyweight history. I mean, he showed his wrestling prowess against Alistair Overeem when he just took him down and elbowed him, just brutally elbowed his face into the canvas, dribbled his head off the canvas until that fight was called by TKO stoppage. So yeah, Curtis Razor Blaydes is coming off of a strong 3 wins in a row in Jairzinho, Chris Daukaus, and Tom Aspinall, along with that great win over Alistair Overeem, a guy who actually beat Sergei. So yeah, Curtis Razor Blaydes, he's a seasoned vet with some good wins. Now, Sergei Pavlovich, well, let's not forget what we were talking about. I'm so sorry for getting off track there, but we're discussing why Curtis Razor Blaydes is the betting favorite here now. So we talked about Curtis. Let's talk about Sergei Pavlovich, his recent fights, he's looked incredible. He ran through Tai Tuivasa, knocked him out in the first round, and right before that, ran through Derek Lewis, knocked him out in the first round. It literally took him a minute, 2 minutes total, to knock out Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis, 2 of the scariest men on the planet. But let's break these knockouts down for a second. When he knocked out Derek Lewis, I think it was just 5 months prior, had gotten sprawled, unconscious on the canvas, knocked out cold by Tai Tuivasa. And then when he went to fight Tai, I think just a few months prior, Tai himself got knocked out by Ciryl Gane. So, Sergei Pavlovich, both of his recent wins are knockout wins over top guys, but both of these top guys were coming off of knockout losses, and his win before these 2 top guys was Shamil Abdurakhimov. I'm sorry for that last name pronunciation, but Shamil is an old fighter. He is a veteran. He has, he's been knocked out maybe 4 times in a row now. Shamil is nothing special. Shamil was a great fighter in his prime, but Shamil is old. Shamil, his time as a top heavyweight is done, guys. Shamil is... He needs to retire, in my personal opinion. He's been getting knocked out consistently in his fights. I don't think it's good for his chin or his brain or his overall health to keep fighting. I think Shamil needs to retire. So yeah, Sergei has 3 wins coming off of guys who all got knocked out in their previous fights, whereas Curtis Razor Blaydes is coming off of 3 strong wins against guys who were on win streaks of their own. So yeah, it does make sense that Curtis Razor Blaydes is the betting favorite here. Now, when we break down the matchup, it's very interesting because Sergei Pavlovich, his only loss, his documented loss in MMA was against Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem kind of wrestled him to a win there. Alistair took him down without issue, pretty much. It was a trip in the first round, I believe, about halfway through the first round. He took him down with a trip. There was very minimal effort put into that trip. Alistair kind of just threw Sergei down. There was little resistance. Alistair followed through. He got on top of Sergei, and Alistair just started raining down huge ground and pound, and Sergei kind of just covered up. He was in a submissive position. He was not responsive. He was not defending himself intelligently, and the fight was called. First round TKO, Alistair Overeem wrestled Sergei to a win. Now, if we look at Curtis Razor Blaydes is the man who wrestled Alistair Overeem to a win. Curtis Razor Blaydes took down Alistair Overeem and elbowed his face in and got a first-round TKO. So Curtis Razor Blaydes is a better wrestler than the guy that used wrestling to defeat Sergei Pavlovich. So yes, I do think Curtis Razor Blaydes has a clear path to victory in this fight. Curtis Razor Blaydes is a great wrestler. If he takes Sergei down, I think his elbows and his relentless pressure on the ground and his elite ground and pound is going to be enough to finish Sergei. But Sergei Pavlovich, he has shown in his recent fights, he has that X factor, that ability to knock anyone out at any time. I was talking about it with Gervonta. These guys just have a God-given ability to punch, and when they land, it's not good for their opponent. Their opponent goes to sleep. And Sergei Pavlovich has shown when he landed on Tai Tuivasa, when he landed on Derek Lewis, he put them both to sleep. So, guys, I think this fight goes either two ways. I think Sergei Pavlovich either knocks out Curtis Blaydes in the first round of the fight, earning himself a huge win, ascending himself to heavyweight title contender status, and establishing himself as one of the best heavyweights in the world. Or Curtis Razor Blaydes starts landing his takedowns early and often and breaks Sergei Pavlovich, draining him in that 5-round fight, just consistently taking him down and getting a late 3rd or 4th round TKO stoppage. My pick, guys, I'm going to have to go with Sergei by early knockout, round 1 knockout. Why? Because his hot streak, he has looked untouchable recently against Tai, against Derek. He really didn't get punched. He landed once and the fight was over. Two huge, powerful dudes were severely hurt because Sergei inflicted very, very large amounts of damage on them with one singular punch. Sergei Pavlovich has that X factor, that it factor, that knockout power that I've been talking about this whole podcast, and I think we're going to see that power emerge in a big way on Saturday night and land against Curtis Razor Blaydes, putting him to sleep, rendering Sergei Pavlovich the victor of this heavyweight main event. So, guys, that is it for today's podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the little switch of content today. Decided to bring boxing into it because this fight this weekend, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, really just can't be ignored. And if you didn't like that, let me know in the comments. And if you didn't, I hope you were satisfied with my Fight Night review or my Fight Night preview after the boxing preview. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun mixing things up. I had a lot of fun talking about this heavyweight barn burner, Sergei Pavlovich versus Curtis Razor Blaydes. It's going to be a great fight, guys. Make sure to tune in, and make sure to also tune in to my post-fight recap, which is going to be dropped this Sunday after the fight. So thank you guys once again so much for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe. Go check out my TikTok at the Chokehold Hour. And that is it for today's episode.